within a few days, you're able to return to the stand. I think it's a big blow to the naysayers who thought they could put out the light of press freedom. We believe that the attack on the nation is not just an attack on the vintage press. It's an attack on the free press. It's an attack on democracy. Because there can no be any virile, robust democracy without a free media. Therefore, an attack on nation or any media whatsoever is a direct attack on freedom of speech and also on democracy.
Assuring that government will continue to support responsible journalism, it will not fold its arms and condone the promotion of fake news and hate speech. Hence, the need for a mechanism that will regulate the social media, which has become a potent tool.
Social media is here to stay. And it's going to be an antithesis to democracy for anybody to even attempt to shut down the social media. However, we must regulate the social media in a manner that does not become a purveyor of fake news and hate speech.
While government, the minister said, is looking into the demands of the NSAS protesters, some have already been met. He therefore called for restraints. Chairman of Vintage Press, Olawale Edun, expressed gratitude, describing the minister and his entourage's visit as encouraging. He, however, said, despite the destruction and loss of property, no casualty was recorded. In Lagos, Anthony Forson, NTA News.
And men of the Nigerian Police Force FCT Command have been applauded for exhibiting maximum restraint during the NSAS protest. Francis Fong reports that the Inspector General of Police, Mohammed Adamu, gave the commendation when he visited the FCT Command.
This is the first visit of the IGP to the FCT Command after the protest.
The aim was to demoralize you. The aim was to...
Besides the word of caution, he encouraged them to remain resolute in the discharge of their duties. The police chief, who recalled the mayhem meted on vehicles, property and destruction of public and private facilities, said it was a phase that should be put behind and lessons learned, even as the officers in the command, despite the provocation, acted professionally.
Those officers that lost their lives all over the country, they will not die in vain because adequate compensation has been planned for them in an extensive manner to show that they serve their country to the extent of losing their lives.
He gave the assurance of the federal government's commitment to reform the force to address contemporary challenges facing it.
So all our barracks will be taken care of. All our logistic requirements in terms of vehicles, in terms of accoutrement, in terms of medicals, all segments of what is required of police officers to have for them to perform their duties.
Meanwhile, 53 suspects are in police custody for alleged looting and vandalism at the Kubwa NYC orientation camp. The Inspector General of Police said the suspects will be prosecuted. In Abuja, Francis from NTA News.
Has again, in less than 1 week, recorded yet another national peak generation of 5,520.40 megawatts on 30th October 2020, surpassing the previous 5,459 megawatts recorded on 28th October 2020 by 60.90 megawatts. A statement by the General Manager, Public Affairs Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN, Ndidi Mba, states that the new national peak is as a result of continued collaboration among players and a gradual increase in capacity in the power sector. With a current capacity of 8,100 megawatts, TCN says it seamlessly transmitted the new peak through the nation's grid. As players in the power sector value chain continue to work together to improve the nation's power supply, TCN implores everyone to help protect power infrastructure nationwide and desist from bush burning or burning of trash beside transmission towers or under power line cables nationwide. Moving on now, significant progress is being made by the Borno State government in the resettlement program for internally displaced persons living in camps, host communities, and refugee centers in neighboring countries. The exercise, currently ongoing, has succeeded in relocating thousands of people back to their liberated, secured, and reconstructed communities in many parts of the state. Jadwa Janjasni has an overview of the sustained resettlement program for IDPs in Borno State.
For more than 6 years, most of the communities devastated by the Boko Haram insurgency had relocated to internally displaced persons camps or moved to neighboring countries. Their means of living had been largely food aid and support from government, agencies and non-governmental partners. Borno State Governor Professor Babagana Umar Zulum had last year made a pronouncement that all affected communities secured by the military will be revived for the people to return to pick up their lives. This was followed with massive reconstruction of towns and villages, provision of housing and social amenities, in addition to other rehabilitation efforts. With a timeline for the statewide resettlement exercise, communities in Mafa, Kwandiga, Kukawa, Guzamala and Mobile local government have been relocated to their ancestral homes. Settlement Committee for Baga on the shores of the Lake Chad, Marte and Goshe in Goza around the Mandara Mountains have made progress as voluntary returnees have relocated to their reconstructed communities.
All the necessary security measures have been put in place to secure their life and property in Goshe town. Our next step, we are going to move to Karao and Warefe, where we are going to accord the same thing to the returnees.
Once the town is stable, the people are stable, fishing and farming activities would kickstart in earnest. Soon, we will embark on the renovation and rehabilitation of critical infrastructures with a view to returning the people of Cross back to their ancestral homes.
Borno State government says it is determined to continue with the settlement program as a final solution that will ensure the people return to their livelihoods and the closure of the IDPs camps. The project has had the support of the military, other security agencies and development partners as civil authority and agricultural practice, as mainstay of the people has been restored in some of the communities. In Maiduguri, Chadua, John Jesney, NTA News.
Borno State government, led by Professor Babagana Umar Zulum, set a timeline for the return of IDPs to their communities and a possible subsequent closure of the camps once it is actualized. With this commitment, a number of communities and several local governments are back home. This followed the reconstruction of destroyed infrastructure, provision of new housing and social amenities. How is the journey so far? How feasible is the closure of the camps and return of our people in neighboring countries? Now, with me to discuss this and many more issues relating to the ongoing IDPs resettlement program is the Borno State Commissioner for Home Affairs, Information and Culture, Alhaji Babakura Abajato. Sir, it's always a pleasure to have you on Panorama.
Good afternoon. Pleased to be with you.
All right. Okay. Sir, what informed the need by this present administration to return the displaced persons back to their communities and commencing within the timeline given for, the reconstruction and relocation?
Well, the IDPs, as the name implies, they're not supposed to be within the camp for a certain limited number of periods, going by the Kampala Declaration. So as a result of that, there is no way the government can also sustain giving them palliatives, giving them food on a continuous ground. Secondly, also, we need to also create a sense that, so far the areas that, have been reclaimed by the military, if there are no human activities, if the areas are depopulated, I think you are also giving the insurgents a very strong will to live and then to continue with their heinous activities. So long as you return the IDPs to those areas, and there is also human activities picking up, that the economy of the state will also be energized, and at the same time also people's means of livelihood will be returned to them. Instead of them to be sitting and being fed, they can also go into their farming and business activities that will also engineer the movement and then of the growth of the state. And so another reason why is that if you do that also, you are also sending a message that after all, the problem that we are into is almost over. And without taking the people back to the camp, there is no way you can tell the rest of the world that we are getting out of these insurgent activities. And that is the reason, the more reason why, apart from the Kampala Declaration, the government, which is very, very proactive, decided, and Professor Babagana Omar Azulum said, no matter the cost, he must return those people back to their ancestral home. And this is what the government is just doing.
Okay, that's a great one. Now, how far has the resettlement program gone, especially in the area of decongesting camps within Maiduguri, the state capital, and other communities?
Well, so far, people from Baga has been returned. Mongono have fully resettled. Bama has fully resettled. And in Goda local government area, places like Warabe, Ngoshe, whatnot, Krawa are also being returned. And again, the rest of the areas will also be returned to their ancestral homes gradually. And so far, so good. I think the government is able to decongest the IDP camp by more than 50%. And this is a plus. This is something that, is never can be imagined in the last 2 years. If you say that in the next 2 years to come, those people living within the camp area, particularly those in the northern fringes, where the activities of ISWAP is very, very active, and then the Sambisa, then the Shako group, very active in the south. So if you do that, I think people will be laughing at you. But so far, so good. The government is able to return those people, Baga, Kukawa. And the next line of action that the government is now trying to do is to return people from Marte, people from Guzamala, and then and the rest of the northern Borno. Gradually, we are going to reclaim our territory. So far, so good. Because by the time these people are being returned, particularly the economic nerve centers, like areas like Banki in Bama local government, this is a border area. Remember that Borno is bordered by 3 countries, 2 in Central African Republic and 1 in West African sub-region, talking about Lake Chad, Cameroon, and Chad. So those within the fringes of the Lake Chad, this is where you have the back of the economic activities that powers the state to a very strong position. It's been aggregated in terms of the farming of rice, in terms of farming of wheat, in terms of farming of barley, maize, beans, cowpeas, whatnot. In addition to that also, there is a huge fish resources, which has the capacity to, send fish to almost all the markets that you find within Nigeria and the rest of the West African sub-region where this staple protein is being required. So, so far, so good. I think once these people are been able to return and taken back to their own land, most of those economic activities that have completely been decimated is going to be brought back to life. So the government is doing everything within its capacity to see that people are returned back to their ancestral home. All we can say is that all well-meaning individuals, both within Nigeria and out of Nigeria, they should not leave this job to this man alone. They should come in, create a very strong force, both material and financial, to see that this area is well developed, and then we are out of that insurgent programs.
Okay, good luck to all the relevant authorities. Let's move on now. Sir, what is the fate of the thousands of refugees housed in neighboring countries of Niger and Cameroon for many years?
You could remember that, not quite long ago, just about a month ago, His Excellency the Executive Governor of Borno State, Professor Babagana Omar Zulum, has taken a trip to Niger Republic and then to Cameroon, where he went and he met and they have discussed at length the modalities to return those people back to their ancestral home. And that is how the pledge of bringing and rebuilding Malumpatori, Abadam, and Bosokemo. Those living in Niger Republic are those from those extreme north of Borno State, talking about Manfatori, talking about Abadam, talking about Boso, and all these things. So those people are also will be gradually returned. So, and then I think every plan has been put in place to ensure that the structures are being rebuilt. And one other thing is that even within the clusters of Maiduguri and Jere local government area, areas like Delwa, and then before Delwa, that about 25 villages were being resettled just only 2 weeks ago. And the government, what the government did was that they provide them with all the materials they required to build their houses, and then foodstuff that can sustain them for at least 2-3 months. And this was done, and it was practical. It's not something like, it's not a lip service. So gradually, I think we are going to claim every inch of our land, which has been, liberated by the Nigerian military, who have done a very good job, and they're still doing a good job.
Okay, finally, sir, and in a nutshell, what do we hope to see in coming months in terms of sustained relocation, restoration of civil authority, and, livelihood support for the returnees?
You see, when we talk about, first and foremost, we have also seen that, despite the fact that there was series of attacks, but the government did not shy away. It was not cowed into, rescind its decision of relocating that people back to their ancestral home. The main thing is that the insurgents really do know that if you have human population in that area, their movement and activities will definitely be curtailed. And the best form that we can do to achieve this is to provide enough security, which the government has done, the military, the police, the SSM, the civilian JTF, the hunters, the vigilante, and those people are also all out there to gut their areas. And secondly, in addition to that also,
okay, yes, sir,
in terms of these livelihood support, well, you see, it is almost a daily affair. When warehouses are being broken elsewhere in Nigeria, we have an empty warehouse. We have to look for the food to also redistribute. So I think livelihood support, the government is doing it up and coming, practical, and all Nigerians can bear witness to that.
Okay, it's really good to have you on Panorama this afternoon. And our best wishes to you.
Thank you.
Borno State Commissioner for Home Affairs, Information and Culture, Babakura Abbajato, there. Let's take a break now. Panorama continues shortly.
The recent genuine concerns and agitations by Nigerians about the excessive use of force and, in some cases, extrajudicial killings and wrongful conduct by means of the Nigerian police force. The disbanding of SARS is only the first step in our commitment to extensive police reform in order to ensure that the primary duty of the police and other law enforcement agencies remains the protection of lives and livelihoods of our people. We will also ensure that all those responsible for misconduct or wrongful acts are brought to justice. We also deeply regret the loss of life of the young man in Oyo State during the recent demonstrations. I have directed that the circumstances of his death should be thoroughly investigated. Meanwhile, it is important to recognize that the vast majority of men and women of the police force are hardworking and diligent in performing their duties. The few bad eggs should not be allowed to tarnish the image and reputation of the force.
On Panorama, and moving on now, the Nigeria Center for Disease Control, NCDC, has confirmed 162 new cases of COVID-19 as at the 31st of October 2020. A breakdown of the new figure indicates Gombe has 54, FCT 35, Lagos 26, Ogun 12, Plateau and Rivers 10 each, and Kaduna has 4. Others are Ekiti with 3, Osun 2, while Bayelsa, Imo, Ondo and Oyo have 1 case each. This brings the total number of COVID-19 cases in Nigeria to 62,853. Discharged 58,675, while deaths stand at 1,144. Now, as part of its effort to become a world-class and apex treatment and referral center, the National Hospital is not relenting in their quest for ending medical tourism. Serafina Okon-Umekwe reports that the Minister of Health, Dr. Osagi Ehanire, was at the hospital to inspect 2 newly acquired linear accelerator machines for treatment and management of cancer. Also said the federal government's top priority is implementation of universal healthcare coverage.
The medical system keeps evolving. The National Hospital Abuja is keeping up with the trend in diverse areas of specialty in pediatrics. Cancer management, cardiology remains its original destination as Center for Laboratory Diagnostics and Trauma Center. A tour at the new annex known as National Center for Cancer and Radiation Medicine has 2 new linear accelerator machines for radiotherapy with dedicated CT scan machines.
80% of my doctors abroad are Nigerians. What can we do? It means that we have brains in Nigeria. But when it comes to where they can have equipment to work with, I'm sure a lot of them will want to stay back and work.
The country needs to be able to retain its manpower, develop more and keep them. Some of them keep checking out, but we have tried to encourage them with incentive. We have introduced intramural practice where they can be fulfilled in terms of their total take-home.
While health is very important, we look forward to the investment in the health sector increasing to the 15% that is contained in the Abuja Declaration.
On universal healthcare coverage, Dr. Ihanire assured that the Buhari administration is taking healthcare to every part of the country, provide basic services, strategizing reviving state government secondary healthcare, as these would reduce the rate of child maternal mortality. Serafina Okon-Umekwe, NTA News.
Sports update: Nigeria Volleyball Federation prepares for post-COVID-19 as it organizes webinar for stakeholders. Gift George is our guide on sports update.
Nigerian Volleyball Federation has organized a webinar